puppet is coming. Everyone, start running.
So I was really looking forward to the new episode of Alien Earth. I have not enjoyed this season so far nearly as much as I had hoped I would. 4 episodes in, and I was feeling like, what, what is going on? I've liked the creator Noah Hawley's previous work. I thought Legion was super weird, but really interesting and well written. And I thought that several of the seasons of Fargo were excellent, especially the first season of Fargo. Had a lot of problems with the most recent season, but it was still an entertaining show. Uh, and so I thought, this might be a cool, weird new take on Alien. We haven't had a lot of great Alien stuff for most of my life. But a 1978 original Alien came out 3 years before I was born. So for the most part, everything after that and Aliens was a pretty big step down. I mean, there were things about Prometheus and Covenant that I did enjoy. But overall, Aliens just, I don't know, it feels like this cool cassette futuristic universe with great space horror, science fiction horror that never really was able to get back to what made it great in the first place. And I thought, well, maybe this show will do that. Unfortunately, episode 5 continues the trend of being really, really dumb. I was hoping that, I knew that this was going to be kind of the flashback episode to the ship, this research vessel that's been out for 65 years looking for alien specimens for Weyland-Yutani, that we know has now crashed into Earth in Prodigy territory, and the aliens have gotten free, and Boy Cavalier, this sort of tech bro genius who's not actually that smart, has sent his people in, captured the aliens. And there's a lot of stuff in these first episodes with Prodigy and these human children who've been put into synth bodies, these hybrids, that I've really hated. I really have not enjoyed this storyline, all the Peter Pan stuff. It's so on the nose. And so I was thinking, this episode that gets us away from Earth onto a spaceship, more classic alien style horror, this is going to be good. And I heard from people before I watched it that it was a much better episode. So I was excited. I got my hopes up. Foolish me. The problem with this episode is that it looks like Alien. It feels like Alien. The costumes, the ship design, the vibe, as the kids like to say. But it's just so stupid. I don't know. It's stupid and sloppy. And the characters are stupid and sloppy. So I'm just going to go through a few of the things. Basically, we knew what was going to happen. The problem with putting this episode out of order is that we already know what happens. We know the ship crashes. We know everyone dies. We know that the only person who survives is the cyborg, Morrow. We know all this. I don't understand why they didn't make this the first episode. I'm not saying it would have been a good episode if it was first, but at least we would have not known what was happening. We wouldn't have known the outcome 5 episodes ago. It feels like sometimes I really enjoy stories that are told out of order, and they can be really entertaining because certain information that's withheld comes into a new light, so you get a different angle, and then it makes more sense, or I don't know, it messes with your head a little bit. This just feels like, ooh, let's put it out of order so that we can seem a little artistic and avant-garde. But instead, it just robs the whole episode of any sort of tension or suspense because, again, we know the outcome. And making this worse, we just don't know any of the we don't know any of these characters. We don't have any time to get to know any of these characters except for Morrow. Morrow, we've had several episodes to get to know, and in this episode, we get some of his backstory. And generally speaking, the stuff with him is pretty good, even if he is a really, really glaringly obvious Captain Hook figure. And we've got, the crocodile, the xenomorph, and we got Boy Cavalier's Peter Pan, and then all the Lost Boys who are literally named after Peter Pan characters, like Wendy. Anyways, so that was a problem. But then there's so many other problems. We don't just not get to know these characters enough to care about them when they die. We actively start to dislike each of them. They are all incredibly stupid. And I feel like this is a problem with the writing. I'm not sure if the writers wanted to make all the characters stupid. They certainly wanted to make one of the characters stupid. This Malachite kid, who's like the apprentice to the engineer. He's an apprentice to an engineer on a space voyage who doesn't know what biology means. I'm sorry, but like the most uneducated people, like people who've just gone to not even finished high school, know what biology is. They know it's not the study of rocks. I mean, that's something you learn when you're a kid. Certainly in this space sci-fi future where you're going out into space, you would have the very basic fundamentals of what kind of science you're doing down. I mean, apparently these people have been out, for years. They've already got the species. And this Malachite character doesn't even know what biology is. And the problem with that is if they just wanted to have one stupid character, fine, make him be comic relief or whatever. But everyone is so stupid. The Chibizo or whatever her name is a black lady who's the scientist. We see her now. We already know that one of the alien face huggers has escaped. The captain's dead. Another character, Bronsky, has been put in a cryopod with the face hugger on his face. But everyone's like, la di da, we're just going about our business, no big deal, nothing to worry about. It's so weird that no one seems freaked out at all at this point. Even though I know they haven't been told how bad things really are, but it's still like bad enough that I would be stressed out. But everyone seems totally like lackadaisical and fine. And the scientist lady is in a biohazard lab with specimens, and she's eating her food and drinking from an open water bottle. And she's not like gloved or masked up or like she's just sitting there eating with like specimens and shit, like experiments just out. Like who does that? Do the writers not realize what goes into like an actual lab? Like I know this is a fiction and a science fiction and everything, but generally speaking, if you have a lab, you've got some basic processes in place that you don't just eat food like next to these, weird blood tick things and the eyeball monster. Like you eat your food somewhere else and then you come in there and you don't bring a water bottle that opens up like that. It's all just for the plot, right? This whole show and this episode in particular is written in a way that everything that characters do and everything that all the stupid decisions they make and all the idiotic things that go on are just to move the plot forward. It's literally just to move the plot forward. So we have her sitting there and she's so careless and oblivious that one of the blood ticks is able to like open the little hatch at the top of the tube that they're in, sneaks out while the eyeball monster distracts her, and then puts a bunch of little like splurges a bunch of little tadpole things into her water. They're very intelligent aliens, much more intelligent than the people on this ship. They catch him and they put him back, but it's too late. The water already has all the little tadpoles in it, so we know that she's screwed, and then of course later Malachite drinks from the water and he's screwed. She then is called to come and meet with the captain, the interim captain or whatever, and she puts the eyeball alien, his little tube, up in the wall where it's supposed to be secured, and she does it wrong. Like even with all this going on, and she's not in a hurry. It's not like a monster's at the door, so she has to like put it up there and screws up. She just puts it in wrong, and it flashes red, but she just obliviously walks away and doesn't notice that it's in there incorrectly, and so the eyeball alien is able to escape. And what I just can't understand is how on this ship with all this technology is there not an alarm system? For like, oh, a specimen has not been put back correctly, so there's an alarm going throughout the ship and you hurry back. Like you can't even leave the room because there's a safeguard that if something's not secured properly and there's a red light, it stops you, it notifies you. Like what the fuck, man? Also, we have this saboteur. Somebody has, he's let the specimen free. He's set an explosive to damage the ship's navigation systems. Like, is there not some kind of alarm when someone leaves a cryopod? And speaking of cryopods, did they really? What baffles me about this episode is they put the face hugger in there with Bronsky, and they think it's going to freeze him, like cryo freeze, you know? But they say at another point in the episode that they know these things can live in the freezing cold vacuum of space. So why do they think that this will stop him? It just seems like this is a very low security, low effort. This thing just killed one of your people, and he's probably going to kill another one. You're really not going to put him in some kind of secure container? Really? So there's just like constant parade of stupid, stupid choices that just feel like sloppy. It's not just sloppy for the crew on the ship, but sloppy from the writers. Like, it seems to me that it would have been really, really easy to just make small changes to each of these things to make them make more sense. Like, I don't know, I'm not going to go fix each one in the script, but it feels like another Passover on the script. Like, you just go through it one more time and you say, hey, wait a minute. When she puts that tube back in the wall and it flashes red, like, why isn't there an alarm sounding? Why is it just so easy for them to screw up without any safeguards in place? Because you can't just hand wave it away as gross incompetence. Like, they're in a spaceship traveling faster than light to gather specimens of aliens in far off systems. Like, clearly there's some competence in just being able to do that. And plus, it's just bad if all your characters are so stupid and incompetent that you don't care about them surviving or winning, and you start to root for the aliens. Uh, the saboteur is another huge problem with this episode. I really can't understand why people are saying this episode is so good, because it's just filled with so many problems. Look, when you have a mystery like who on the ship is sabotaging all this stuff? Who is the dirty traitor? Who and you have an investigation and all this, to learn that it's a character you've never seen or heard or met before. It's just some random dude. Like, to learn that is the most, like, unsatisfying reveal I've ever seen. It's up there with Night Country and some of the kind of the reveals in that. You have to set up this sort of thing. Like, imagine if in the original Alien movie, it turned out that the person sabotaging the ship was just like another crewmate we'd never met before. I mean, that's basically what happens here. This is sort of a copycat episode, kind of copying the formula, the format, the plot of the original movie. Only everyone in it is stupid, and the reveal is lame. And I haven't even gotten to the xenomorph, who looks. I've come up with a name for the xenomorph in this episode: the Xenomuppet, because it looks like a dude in a suit running around with a big old xenomorph head on. I mean, it looks like a guy running around. It's the worst xenomorph I've ever seen. I have to go back and watch the earlier episodes. I feel like the xenomorph didn't look as goofy in the earlier episodes, so maybe they ran out of CGI and they were like, well, I don't know, we don't have the budget, so we'll just put Todd in a suit and give him that big xenomorph head, and we'll have him run around slowly. The xenomorph is super weak. Like, he shows up behind the lady who's the acting captain, and she just stands there, and he just stands there, and then, like, she runs off kind of at a jog, and it like jogs after her. And so it's so anticlimactic. Uh so yeah, the saboteur part, really dumb reveal. Also, Morrow finds out because he sees him having a conversation with Boy Cavalier. And correct me if I'm wrong, but sending communications at that distance takes like a really long time. So you can't have a live conversation. Like, you have to send a message, and then they send you a message, and then you send them a message. I mean, I know it's science fiction, but I'm pretty sure even in the fictional universe of Alien, that kind of communication is not a thing. Um, so many stupid moments with characters. There's the scene where Malachite, probably if I'm getting his name wrong, I'm sorry, but he's eating food in a meeting. They're having like this very serious meeting about the alien like escaping and like killing Bronsky and turning into a xenomorph. Somehow they all know what xenomorphs are already. I thought that was something they learned later, but whatever. They're having this serious meeting, and he's just like scarfing down food, and there's all this like weird chatter. The whole meeting scene was really weird, and like the food's spicy, so he like freaks out and drinks the water. That's the scientist lady's water. That's how he gets infected. Um, it's just so goofy. Like, the whole thing is so goofy. There's got to be like a million ways you could have set this whole episode up better. The only good thing about this episode is that we get to avoid all of the stupid Neverland, Peter Pan shit back on Earth. That's it. The downside is we don't get any of Timothy Oliphant's Kirsch, who's like, along with Morrow, probably the only two characters I really, really like on this show. And they're not enough to carry the show. They're just not enough. But really, this was just, like, in execution, this was terrible. In concept, I really liked the idea. I think it would be cool if we had a whole show about this ship going off to gather specimens and bring them back to Earth, and like the slow betrayal from one of the crew and all that. They could have done that. Wouldn't have been super original, but it still could have been good horror, good suspense, good mystery. Really, they needed at least one more episode to introduce the saboteur himself, so that we had a cast of characters in this little Agatha Christie mystery to ponder about. And Morrow is our Sherlock Holmes, our Hercule Poirot, figuring out who the bad guy is. But this was just the lamest reveal ever. So I'm sort of talking, rambling at this point. Overall, again, I think there's some great set design, costume design, production value, except for the xenomorph. I think the eyeball is a really interesting alien, and the way it kind of has a kaleidoscope vision, and it's very intelligent and can, uh, you know, also parasitically invade a host. On the other hand, I thought that the little fight between the engineer that was taken over by the eyeball and the xenomorph was super goofy and almost made me laugh out loud. But there's a lot of, like, again, the show is sort of heartbreaking because I think there was a lot of potential here, and I think it's just every single episode has really dropped the ball, and it's just a combination of bad writing, weird characterization, and lousy setup and very little payoff. So let me know what you think so far. I keep getting, I mean, people are, again, as usual, people are mad at me for saying all this stuff because it's the greatest show ever and this is the best alien thing since the original and all this. And like, no, it's not. I really wanted it to be, but it's not. It's just not. So, anyways, thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Shout out in the comments.